Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Jazz Report. Yours truly, Miss Jazzy here. This is an exclusive interview tonight that I'm so excited to be able to share with so many of you that will watch this live tonight. Because for those of you ladies that are in South Carolina, this live is for you. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to share the broadcast, come on in. Welcome back, because it's been a while. I tell you, it's been a while since I've actually shared this platform of the Jazz Report. So much has been happening. Life has been happening. So much has been going on. The fact that we're I guess, opening back up and traveling more. But I do hope that for all of you that are watching tonight, all is well with each and every one of you. I hope many of you are in good spirits as well as in good health. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you what, the information that's going to be shared tonight is really some exclusive information for many of you, because you may have not heard about my special featured guests tonight that are going to help me to share information about South Carolina WIL, which stands for South Carolina Women in Leadership. So calling all women, whether you're in leadership in your community, in business, in ministry, or even in politics, whatever role that you're playing, or maybe you're looking to get involved in, there's information tonight as far as really the support, the mentorship that women really from all across the state are working together to really impact, impart, inform, and really just make a difference in all of our lives as we continue to move South Carolina forward. So again, I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. And I want to take a moment right now to go ahead and welcome tonight's featured guest. So ladies, we're going to take an opportunity to welcome Miss Barbara Rakes. So Miss Barbara, welcome to the live, as well as Miss Lauren Harper. So these two young ladies that will be joining us tonight, I want to give them both an opportunity to introduce themselves as a part of the South Carolina WIL, and let you kind of know who we're going to be imparting with tonight and who's going to share this information. So Miss Barbara, thank you again for joining us tonight on the Jazz Report. Can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are?
Yes, I'd be happy to, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be with us. My name is Barbara Rakes, and I'm a serial, lifelong entrepreneur. I've done everything from serving on Capitol Hill to running a women's clothing store, including one in the Greenville area, one in Charlotte, one in the metropolitan Columbia area, for 20 years until I decided, I discovered the internet and decided that it was the future. And so I jumped to I was actually the first online retailer in the state of South Carolina. And that was before either one of you were born. So we don't talk back that far. But throughout all of that, and particularly now with South Carolina Women in Leadership, my goal has been to encourage women to have confidence, to gain competence, and to step forward and make their voices heard. There is the representation by women, and particularly women of color, Black and brown, is so desperately low. And it's not because we can't do it, it's because we haven't stepped up to do it. So that's what our job is here tonight and throughout all of Women in Leadership.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Rakes, for joining us. Okay, Ms. Lauren Harper, can you tell everyone just a little bit about who you are and what you have going on?
Absolutely. So Lauren Harper, very grateful to be here with you guys tonight. I am a strategic communications and political consultant here in South Carolina, and doing work much like what Barbara just mentioned, but wanting to make sure that people understand how to be engaged and how to understand how politics works in the day-to-day lives that we live. My background is in communications. I worked for Columbia Mayor Steve Benjamin for a few years, and then ran Veteran Works state operation here in South Carolina. and now doing consulting for lots of folks and really enjoying it. So grateful to be part of the conversation today. As Barbara mentioned, wanting to make sure that particularly young people understand what's going on in politics. We have a pet project called Circle Up SC at my firm where we engage with millennial and Gen Z residents in South Carolina, trying to make sure they understand what's going on, not just statewide in South Carolina, but nationally in politics. And so wanting to do what we can every day to engage people, inform people, like Barbara said, all those great words there, and do what we can to help people out.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, since I really partnered with to be the race and gender diversity outreach coordinator with South Carolina Women in Leadership, I realized that there's so many women that had no idea about it. And the fact that we're in the grassroots effort of building this network of women that they can, for one, realizing that South Carolina WIL, and I'm reading this really from the website, and I want for as many of you that are watching, at some point, you definitely have to go to the website, which is scwomenlead.net, scwomenlead.net. So being a multi-partisan network of women whose mission, again, is to move South Carolina forward politically, socially, economically, educationally, and environmentally. Now, I know there's something within those wordings that I've said that there's someone watching that you like, okay, that's something that maybe I can serve in that capacity. Because when you think about the mission, again, which is to inform, to involve, inspire women to become engaged in local and state leadership. Because, when we think about the women's suffrage, it wasn't that long ago that women didn't even really have a voice or a right to lead. And so it is with such great honor tonight, ladies, that I thank you so much for joining us, just with the collective efforts that we are doing to really get women, especially right here in the state in which I was born and raised and where I work, live, and play here in South Carolina. And Miss Barbara, I'm thinking about, even from the website, there's 3 pillars on the website that talks about fair voting, fill the pipeline, and reduce polarization. And so when we think about fair voting, because I know one thing that's a hot topic, even in the news today, is redistricting. And I don't know if you ladies, if you're watching right now, or men too, I'm just curious, did y'all complete your census? Did you complete your census? Because, the census only happened every 10 years. And in 2020, for the first time, we were able to do it electronically. And I did mine electronically, but because of the census, it is now time for redistricting. So Miss Barbara, can you speak, or your Lauren as well, kind of piggyback and talk about, for someone that maybe don't understand what redistricting is all about, and maybe talk about what really dropped this afternoon as far as some news?
Yeah. Lauren, you want to start with the overview, and I'll...
Yeah, sure. So I'm so grateful that you mentioned the census part of this, Stephanie, because that was a huge part of what we're doing in the state legislature over the next several months with redistricting, because the census data is what guides the redistricting process to make sure that the state understands the populations that they're working with. So the Senate Judiciary Committee actually at the State House. So, we have a state Senate and a state House, and on the state Senate side, they have different committees that they work out of and operate out of to pass legislation or talk about different topics. And so the state Senate Judiciary Committee, they met today to establish a series of meetings for public comment for people across the state to be able to participate, to voice their opinions, to voice their concerns, to voice anything they want to talk about when it comes to redistricting. So that's going to be incredibly huge for people to be able to voice their thoughts and share their sentiments about what's going on, so that redistricting is as fair as a process as possible. Obviously, with the state legislature that is my majority Republican, we'll see how that happens in terms of different partisan politics play in. But just want to make sure people understand that it is a process that does involve public comment, so that people can feel like they can have a say in what goes on.
Yeah, that's a great beginning, Lauren. So I don't know if you can put the link that I put in the private chat a little while ago, if you can put that on in the public chat, but there is a link on our website to all of the upcoming hearings. And they are public hearings where you can go and not only physically go and see and hear what's being said, but they will also all be done virtually through the legislature's website. The first one is next week. Wow. So this is really going to move very quickly, and these are going to be the best opportunities for you to become involved. What Lauren mentioned, Republicans versus Democrats, and redistricting, in many cases, the struggle over it is really about power. Yeah. It's not so much about, I mean, because it happens whether you're an R or a D in states that are democratically dominant, the Democrats are looking to maintain their power base. They want to, the incumbents want to keep what they have, and they want to grow it even further. I heard Mia McLeod just a couple of weeks ago. We did a podcast with her talking about redistricting from her previous experience. And she was, I don't want to use the word gerrymandered, she was districted into a district that's 67% Black, so that all the three around her could be 67% white. And she has no fear of competition. So, I mean, one of the things that we want people to understand is what the process is, why it makes a difference, and how they can impact it. And if you don't become educated, you can't make an impact.
So now for someone that's watching, and again, thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. This is an exclusive interview, really dropping some knowledge and information from South Carolina WIL, which is Women in Leadership, really advancing women in the state of South Carolina to really operate and be engaged in leadership roles. But when we think about redistricting, and you mentioned that word, I kind of think of it like a little dirty word, that gerrymandering.
It is.
But, you know, it happens. It happens. And that's where, you know, there could be like manipulation of the lines that are being drawn. So can you help someone understand how, you know, when you're doing the redistricting, what that really means for, you know, the population count and all that, so they really understand what redistricting does for the different districts?
Well, I want to mention first, I know Barbara will be able to explain it probably more technically than I can, but when it comes to redistricting, it's sad that it becomes like a negative topic, right? Because, you know, by just bylaws of not just the state, but the country, like redistricting is necessary because of the population changes, right? So because redistricting has been, like you said, manipulated and abused historically, that's where it gets into the issue of gerrymandering districts. But in its purest form, quote unquote pure, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but because of the way it's been abused historically, that's what makes it a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that resonates with me about redistricting was actually said by former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Republican governor of the state of California. And he said, do we choose our representatives, or do our representatives choose us? Wow. And if you have someone who is working to, I think, Lauren, you used the word manipulate, but, you know, to draw the map so that it's more secure for him or her, they are actually choosing who their constituents are going to be, rather than putting you in the position of you choosing who you want to elect. I mean, I can't tell you what the founding fathers intended way back then, but it's hard to imagine that that was what their plan was that the people we elected would actually be choosing us as opposed to others.
And I think it's important that for people to really understand, ladies, since we're really focusing on our women as it relates to women in leadership, is that in South Carolina, it is the politicians, you know, that decide how these maps are drawn. Mm-hmm. And so what is it, though, that we can do now that they're about to start this process? What is it that we can do as women in leadership to kind of be a part of that entire process of what's happening?
I can give you a couple of clues. If you come and become active with South Carolina Women in Leadership, I mean, if you did it tonight, you would start getting voter alerts next week that say, here's what you need to know about your district. Here are what the current maps look like. Here is what has happened historically. So you can show a map over, say, the last 4 redistricting periods or 40 years. And they've morphed from being, what I think of as the Iowa farmland. You fly over the state of Iowa and everything is a nice little square with roads. Well, now they look like chickens and fly swatters. I mean, they're stretched all over with a little fat thing on the end.
Ducks.
Right.
Yeah, and ducks. And
Name your favorite animals,
Yeah, name it. There may be, I'm not saying that there is not reason to draw it that way, because there are many characteristics that need to be taken into account. They need to take communities of interest. So if you live in an urban area, you're more likely to share concerns with people who also live in urban areas. If you live in a rural area, it's similar. But those are all things that it's a little faster than we expected. We thought we were going to start this August 1st, but the Judiciary Committee said we're going to start next week, and therefore we are. But we're going to do like one day at a time. Here's what you need to know next. Here's what you need to know after that. You don't have to become, I mean, I listen to League of Women Voters sometimes, and they're brilliant. They're very deep in their knowledge, but cracking and packing and, some of the terms that are used are just things that make my eyes glaze over. I want to know exactly what's happening and what can I do to make sure that it's in my best interest as a voter, as a constituent.
And that's what this is all about. So again, for those of you that are watching tonight, thank you so much for tuning into the Jazzy Report. This is an exclusive interview with South Carolina WIL, which stands for Women in Leadership, right here for the state of South Carolina. So ladies, for those of you that are watching, men, if you have ladies in your life and you think this would be something that they may be interested to be a part of, because when I think about South Carolina WIL and what we're doing to really engage women from all backgrounds, to diversify this network, we need all of you to be engaged and to be a part of something like this. Your talents, your gifts, your dedication, your financial support, whatever you can do to back the efforts of what we're doing through South Carolina WIL, I promise, I think this will be something that many of you will glean from, because there's mentorship available, there's support, and there's training, there's resources of things that could really help you to continue to lead, whether it's in your community, whether it's in business or in politics. And I want to switch gears here, Ms. Rakes, and talk about the fact that I'm here in the upstate in Greenville, and I know there's openings that women in particular can apply for, like boards and commissions type deal. So can you speak to that? Because I know there's a deadline coming up by the end of this month. So ladies, yes, you have time, but I'm giving you this information that you can be made aware that it's even an option for you that you can apply to be a part of it. Can you speak to that for us, please?
Absolutely. So there are 60 positions that are open, or probably more than 60, but 60 that we know of. And the city of Greenville, get that right? City or county, has actually asked us to reach out to people. So if you go to sewomenlead.net matchboard, MATCHBOARD, you will find those openings, and you will also find how to go and apply for them. If you do apply, please tell us that you did so we can follow up to make sure that your voice is heard when it gets there. And the deadline is July 31st. They will not take applications after that. We don't really know, because the state of South Carolina, nor the cities, the counties, and the state do not calculate demographics. So we don't know how many men, how many women, how many Black, how many Latinx people serve on boards, but we're in the middle of developing an application that will allow all of us to know those things. What we do know from looking at the boards themselves is that women Blacks, brown are all markedly underrepresented. You know, if we don't use the 51 point however many percent of our population, if we don't use the females' brains, we are missing out. Right now, my understanding is that on boards and commissions, from what's been calculated, somewhere just south of 20% are comprised of women. So that's a big chunk of people that are, whose perspective is not being heard.
Absolutely. And I truly believe from this platform tonight, because I see where Miss Valorie Collins Thornton has asked that you repeat the website, but ladies, listen, when she said there's over 60 open positions right here in the upstate, surely somebody on this live tonight can have an interest to maybe get involved to be a part of that. But here's the bonus to that. You don't have to do it alone. There's support to help guide you, as she mentioned, to check to make sure that things are done correctly, that can, you know, be your advocate to help you to make sure it's done. So, Ms. Barbara, can you repeat that website again?
Absolutely. It's scwomenlead.net. So we call ourselves a network, South Carolina Women's Leadership Network, /matchboard, MATCHBOARD. Like we're matching what, I don't want to get into dating sites, but, you know, our boards are dating our citizens, and we want to match people up. What's your interest? What's your skill level? Step forward. You know, you mentioned our different pillars, Stephanie, and the second one is fill the pipeline. And if one of the things that we have recognized, particularly in politics, but also in all levels of public service, is that our pipeline is very empty of women. We do not have women, young, old, in between, that are coming into their communities and doing service there, learning how to lead. You know, it's like baby steps. You go in and you get to serve on a board in your local community. You get comfortable. Maybe you eventually chair that board, and then you move up to the next higher board, you know, whether that is a higher level board or a state board. And, you know, maybe not everybody wants to run for office, but we certainly need more women in office. Only 17% of our General Assembly is comprised of women. And they make a lot of decisions that relate directly to families and insurance and, you know, our bodies, however you want to describe it. Women make most of the decisions in a typical household, you know, where we live, where our kids go to school. We're the ones who sit in a little chair across from the teacher and try and figure out what's happening to them in school. You know, we need to have a voice that is someplace in a big chair and at a big table.
And one thing I do want to emphasize, because Barbara, you know, you're doing a great job talking about the boards that are available, but like, I want people to realize these boards are very specific to what you already know, right? Like in the city of Columbia, Barbara and I both live in Columbia, the city of Columbia has boards and commissions. There's a bike pedestrian advisory committee. So if you're really interested in safe bike lanes and pedestrian friendly streets, you could go serve on that board. If you are interested in environmental conservation, there's CPAC, where I can't remember, it's conservation something. And then there's, you know, the forestry and beautification. If you're interested in making sure that the city preserves green, you know, greenery and trees, and like, these things are not like, oh, I have to go serve on a board where I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, no, these are like genuinely like, what's your passion, right? There's usually a board that has somewhat of an alignment with what your passion is. You know, education, economic development, like there's all sorts of boards, and there's not just boards at the city level, there's boards at the county level too. So if you are in your neck of the woods, Stephanie, like there's Greenville County boards, there's Greenville City boards, and there's also obviously these different state boards that you can get involved in that are statewide versus just regional wide. So I want people to understand, like, this is not just like, oh, I gotta go study to be on a board. Like, no, these are your lived experiences that are going to bring value to a board that advises those council members, right? So, you know, when you go to a county council or city council meeting, these are the people who they're going to look to for advice about that topic. So if they're trying to cut down a tree, what does forestry and beautification say about cutting down a tree, right? Like, it's just very applicable, very like real life, day-to-day stuff that I hope people realize that they can be involved in that way.
And now that you've said that, because I'm sure there's some women tonight that their interest, I'm sure, has got to be piqued to realize there is an opportunity for you to serve and for your voice to be heard, that you can make a difference. What do you say, though, to those busy moms or to those that may work a full-time job? You may have women that are retired, like, you know, they're trying to balance their time. How do you encourage a woman tonight? What would be your words of encouragement to say, even in the midst of everything else you're doing, how can you add this, though, as an additional way to be able to serve?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every time you serve, it's a sacrifice, right? Not just for yourself, but for your family members, for those who you love and you do life with. But, you know, if you are, you know, inclined to complain about something, you might as well be inclined to serve to change it, right? You know, and I'm not saying that you can't complain without serving, because obviously we have that right as American citizens. But if there's an opportunity for you to be a change, and make an impact in your city, particularly like Barbara was talking about with women. Like, there are so many men who make decisions about stuff that people don't even realize what's happening, right? And, you know, not to negate the, you know, intelligence or the propensity of a man, but obviously women have a lot of experiences that they can bring value to a boardroom, to a city council chamber, to county council, so that they can be making more informed, more compassionate, more empathetic, more sensitive decisions. Instead of basing it off of what they've been historically, which is, you know, typically men of a certain income bracket.
If I could add to that, I would say that at a community level, you're probably not looking at contributing more than 2 to 3 hours in a month to do this. So it's not like having to drive to Columbia and serve on a Senate committee or a full day hearing. It's local, and you can also see the impact of what you're doing. So, you know, as Lauren said, you're talking about bike lanes, or you're talking about zoning. You can see the impact of your contribution right there at home.
Well, I'm so excited because, again, for those of you that are watching tonight, again, this is an exclusive interview for the Jazz Report, really shining a light on South Carolina WIL, which stands for Women in Leadership. And again, there's so many opportunities for us as women in various states actually to lead, but we are here in South Carolina, and we are calling on you to get involved and to really take action to do it now. So I implore you, for many of you that are watching, whether it's you or someone you know, somebody knows somebody. Why don't you and grab 2 or 3 or 4 more of your friends and come on and be a part of South Carolina WIL. Go to scwomenlead.net. There's a ton of information there. There's history there. You can take action. As you look on the website, there are tabs that says fair voting, fill the pipeline. Fill the pipeline is where you can hover over that, and that's where it says take action. You can go there, fill out the information. You know, we'll definitely have someone to get in touch with you and walk you through the process. Listen, you won't be in this by yourself. You will have the support that you need. And so the other pillar that we're going to talk about, reduce polarization. And that's where we can talk about the circles of women leadership. And so again, Miss Barbara, if you can just take an opportunity to help the women here in South Carolina understand, you know, the network that's generated around the support of working with the circles of women.
Sure. You know, and actually I met you, Stephanie, through a circle. So before the pandemic, we had circles. We were building circles physically, geographically. We had 2 in Greenville, some in Aiken, Florence, all of Charleston, all around the state. And when we were all shut down, we had to learn a different approach. So we actually have entered a partnership with Lean In, which is Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook fame, infamy right now, but I think she's going to go back to fame. She's the COO of Facebook under Mark Zuckerberg. She has a big foundation where they have 50,000 circles globally, and we are building the South Carolina network of those circles. The circles are smaller groups that can meet either virtually, physically, or some hybrid amount. They are, excuse my earbud, 10 to 12 women meeting together. They can be about a topic, it can be an issue, it could be about a profession, or it could be just because, you know, I want somebody to share my thoughts with. You know, it could be you're struggling at work, it could be, you just need people to share that are not the regular people that you share with all the time. So we're building this up. We hope to have 100 circles by the end of the year. One of the reasons that we want to do them is because we think women working together get things done.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we talk about how somebody breaks something, there's a problem. And there are some people, particularly males, and forgive me to those of you who are tuned in with us tonight, who say, who's going to fix that? Whereas we women look at each other and we say, okay, you get the broom, you know, I'll get the mop, and we'll clean this mess up. I mean, we don't wait to see whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a old or young or black or white. We figure out how to get it done and we do it. So we feel like women working together will help to reduce the remarkable polarization in this country. Women will work across party lines in ways that men won't if they're elected to office. So that's what our circle's about, and that is our goal of reducing polarization by putting more women together in groups where they can effectively make things happen.
And I like that, because one thing that you said is that women working together, because, you know, there's always been this kind of stigma where women can't really work together, but we really, really can. We're more similar than we are, not alike. And so I believe that as we continue to push South Carolina forward, there's such a great need for women to get involved. You know, there's a variety of ways that you can get involved, from, you know, even with South Carolina WIL, from just content, you know, from blogs that we do, from social media. Again, I mentioned financial donations to help facilitate training. I mean, whatever your skill set is, whatever that it is about you, I'm sure that there's something that you can contribute to being a part of South Carolina WIL. I mean, your talents, your gifts, whatever that you can do to commit to be a part of something like this, we can continue to build. And so again, I appreciate all of you tonight for watching, for tuning in. And I want to just give a few moments. I don't know if there's anyone that's watching that may have any specific questions, because again, what I'm employing all of us that are watching here in South Carolina to do is to join the movement, I mean, we're working tirelessly to increase the racial and gender representation really all across the state of South Carolina. And you that are watching that are South Carolinians, you get to be a part of that. I invite you to join us. And so again, Lauren, for someone that's watching, as we're trying to see if there's any maybe questions, and I see my good friend, Miss Angela Pride, who's watching, that, you know, she also has a network of women of her movement, Women Lead. You know, this is perfect for you, Angela, to definitely continue to do what you're doing and just bring your skill set on into this network. But
we'll
Lauren,
work together.
Yes, absolutely, because there's such a great need for us women to continue what we do, and that is lead. And again, remember, there are 60 plus open positions here in the upstate that you could get involved for boards and commissions. You know, don't think that you're unqualified to be a part of it. There is an opportunity for you to serve. There's an opportunity for your voice to be heard. There's an opportunity for you to make a difference. And if you need the help, that's what South Carolina WIL is all about. They will support you through the process. So Lauren, for your thoughts and your final words of encouragement for someone that's watching as to why they should get involved with South Carolina WIL, what would you say to them?
Well, I want to kind of piggyback off of something that Barbara said before in my closing remarks, so I'll try to make it quick with that. But in the concept of, or in the vein of reducing polarization, I want people to understand as well, like when you think about, that's my dad, hi Dad. When you think about all the people who are involved in politics across the country, you always think about Dem versus Republican, Dem Republican, but all of these issues at the municipal level, they are nonpartisan issues, right? Like it is like what you just said, like these are not boards and commissions where you have to identify as a Democrat or Republican or even an independent to be participatory and to have an impact, right? Like you are being just who you are in your lived experiences without bringing the extra baggage of partisan politics into it. And that's what makes a really big difference at the local level, which is why a lot of local governments are nonpartisan. So say all that to say, going into why people should get more involved, like we just talked about for the past 45 minutes, right? Like there are so many opportunities and women have historically held leadership positions. They just have not always had a title for it. And even if they did, it may not have been a big title, it may not have been CEO, but it might have been community leader. It might have been pastor. It might have been mom for that matter, right? Like all the, like easy breezy, but important titles, right? And so I want women to be encouraged to be able to use those leadership positions, those leadership skills that you cultivated over time in these real offices of government, right? Like government is run by humans. We're all flawed individuals with issues, but the more that we come together with reducing the polarization, reducing the, the rhetoric that is divisive, those are the opportunities that we have to actually make real impact at the local level in our neighborhoods, in our communities, in our row of houses, right? In our cities and our counties that we care about. So just imploring people to get involved. I see women leadership is obviously one of the best resources in the state to get involved with. We have all these resources for people to understand, to be able to engage. So please reach out to us and let us know how we can be helpful to you if you have any hesitancies.
Thank you so much, Lauren. We appreciate really just your time of being here to share that. Again, I know you're located in Columbia. So for those of you that may be in the Columbia area, and I know I have some friends there, I hope the Tisdales had an opportunity to chime in. You just never know who you can connect with, because again, you, especially when you're in these the circles of women that are in leadership, you are in a geographic area, and then you get to be a part of the preference of what it is that you want to do, whether it's on an issue. But the basis for this is that you're getting involved in things that you want to do, and as you mentioned, where your skill set is. So, Miss Barbara Race, when you think about, there's women that are watching tonight, and they, for one, had no idea about South Carolina WIL, Women in Leadership. So I'm so excited to be able to share the platform with the Jazz Report, to introduce this to many and present to some. What would be your words of encouragement as to why the time is now to get involved?
Women lost a lot of ground during the pandemic. Of all the people who gave up their jobs to be able to be the caregivers, whether it was the homeschooler or looking after people with immune system disorders, whatever it was. We stayed at home. We observed a lot that was going on in our communities. And one of the best ways of going in baby steps again is by stepping into something that we saw. I always hear people say that women run for office because they're mad about something. Mm-hmm. They want something to change in the school system. And they go to the school board meetings. Nothing gets better. It doesn't improve. Finally, they say, dang it. I would say something stronger if it was just us. I'm going to run for this school board. And that's how women often, that we don't stand in front of the mirror and say, hey, my tie looks pretty good today. I think I'll run for school board. We say, I'm going to run for school board because I want to make a difference. So we believe that women can start with just small bites. They don't have to take on running for Congress. They can start by doing small things in their community, by encouraging other women to come together, do other things with them. It's all part of the reducing polarization, but it really is working together for a better city, a better county, a better state, which ultimately is a better nation. So.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, ladies, it has been an amazing conversation tonight. Many have continued to say great information. That I see Mr. Kevin Harper said we must all work together to make this country an exclusive place for all. But listen, South Carolina WIL, Women in Leadership, we will make a difference. We will continue to impact you. We will help you to overcome the barriers of what it is that you need as far as the resources, the tools, the training, the commitment, the confidentiality of being a part of these women in leadership, the circle groups, just the networking. It's going to be a great opportunity for you to get involved. And so I have come tonight to encourage, inspire, as recently being able to partner with South Carolina WIL as their race and gender diversity coordinator. And I'm just going to be outreaching. You're going to be hearing more and more about this. And I need as many of you that are watching tonight. Can you go and grab 3 or 4 or 10 or 20 or however many people in your network to make them aware that this is even an option? So listen, tonight, when we're done on this live, I want you to go to scwomenlead.net, scwomenlead.net. Feel free to browse around. Also, connect on social media, SC Women Lead on Instagram. I want as many of us, and I say us because I'm not asking you to do something that I too won't actively be a part of, because I believe that we as women can and will continue to make a difference. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you again, Lauren. Thank you, Ms. Barb, for tuning in. This has been another amazing exclusive interview here on the Jazz Report. So until next time, you guys have a great rest of the week, and know that women in South Carolina, we're depending on you to help South Carolina lead.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.